environmental concerns have obviously been a dampening effect on Bitcoin's price, including Elon Musk's tweets, for a while now. And with that, there's been sort of a pivot to focus on more ESG-friendly mining and the like. And so along with that news, Stronghold Mining, a digital asset mining firm, has raised $105 million to turn waste coal into Bitcoin. Now, this is in Pennsylvania, and waste coal is a sort of byproduct of coal mining. Strongbox claims that it is, the equivalent of, the environmental impact of hydropower. And in fact, the Public Utility Commission of Pennsylvania kind of categorizes it as such. But Zach, this raised a lot of questions for me because now we're diving again into like local state politics and regulations. So I believe you edited this piece. Talk to me a bit about what you were finding here.
I can confirm that I edited this piece last night. There's a lot going on in this piece. I'm calling it now. This is going to be a great New York Times Magazine piece in 3 months. I'm thinking about pitching this story to NPR. There's a lot of pieces going on here, a lot of interesting, provocative thought intersections, right? You have the history of coal waste in Pennsylvania, famously encapsulated by the town of Centralia, PA. If you guys are familiar with it, it's the place where the coal fire has been burning continuously for 50 years underground. These little hellish landscapes of like an abandoned town, right? So there is this crazy environmental legacy of coal in Pennsylvania that's pretty nuts. So this waste product, I guess, can be processed into fresh energy. And again, Ben, as you mentioned, I did check this. The state authorities in Pennsylvania categorized coal waste in the same environmental impact class as large-scale hydropower operations. So these claims to being ESG friendly on the part of strongholds definitely kind of, to my knowledge, check out here in this instance. I was initially quite dubious as well because you see coal waste, you see these crazy pictures of coal fires burning for literal decades, and you're like, how can this be an environmentally responsible way to process Bitcoin mining power? So anyway, really interesting stuff. Definitely sort of, at the very least, kind of complicates the narrative around Bitcoin's environmental impact being bad. And, we've seen a lot of talk about that. This is one of several experiments to do it in a way that may indeed be ESG friendly. And I think this story is actually quite interesting. The terms of the deal include them trying to get a public listing on the books, which another vertically integrated miner, Greenidge Generation, I think it's called, did recently. So anyway, that's a long-winded way of saying, Will, what's your take?
So no, I'm going to take this like a slightly different direction. So it's interesting the point that they classify reusing this coal waste for the same as hydro, because if you look at hydro, you look at solar, you look at any sort of renewable energy, and they're also pretty destructive to a degree. And so it's like, these stories always make me feel a little sad because it's like, how do we get renewable energy that's extremely clean and like beneficial for the environment? If you always go back a few steps, you always find some sort of dirty energy powering everything. So for example, solar fabrication is mostly done in China, and it's done using coal from Xinjiang, which of course is a province just full of human rights abuse, and then just these really nasty coal mines, and that's where they're making all these solar power plants that are used all over the world. And so I think like the broader story there is like renewable energy has a long way to go to be really clean, and the Bitcoin mining story is somehow it's like able to expose that industry or show that we still have a lot of work there. And it's interesting that Bitcoin is the method for showing how that industry needs to keep growing.
Well, I was going to say,
go ahead,
Jen. For it, Naomi. Okay, I'll go really quickly. You go.
There's a standoff between you two.
Oh man!
No. Well, I was just going to say much the same as you. I mean, this is a narrative that's only been amplified recently, and I feel like we've been looking at a lot of different ways in the industry to address the environmental concerns around Bitcoin, and that's obviously going to unveil, good things and bad things. And I don't think we've seen an industry move so quickly when it comes to addressing environmental concerns. So I think it's a good thing. I think we're gonna see a lot of good come out of this in the long run. But I'm still waiting to see someone actually tell us, how bad is Bitcoin really for the environment? I don't think anyone has really kind of secured that information. So I'm waiting for that. But Naomi, I will kick it off to you before we go into the last story.
Yeah, well, just on your point, Jen, I mean, using energy is not the same as bad for the environment. So a lot of people use those interchangeably. Just because something uses a lot of electricity doesn't mean that it's bad for the environment. There are all kinds of ways you can use electricity. But my question was just about Elon Musk. You know, he cited environmental concerns as the reason for not accepting Bitcoin. I think that's, is actually another reason. But, conspiracy theories aside, if we actually take it at face value, he was mainly citing coal mines. And he was mainly citing coal-powered energy production and looking at China. Now, China's just shut down 90% of Bitcoin mining, right? And so does this change the energy debate? Where is Elon now? If his main concern was that most mining happened in China, a lot of Chinese energy production is coal-powered. That's disappeared now. I mean, what happens next, right? So I would love to hear more about that. Let's get him on the show next week is what I'm saying. If we can just, bring him on here.